Welcome back, Particle People. As you may know, some of the Once Human seasons are coming to an end, which means that a lot of us have been faced with the idea we can stay on our old server or we can move to a new one. And if your season isn't up yet, don't worry, that's right around the horizon, so you may want to know what's coming up and what can you do about it. Well, let's take a look at that together. First things first, you may have seen the trailer that's announcing the two new scenarios that are coming up for both PvP and PvE respectively. Neither of those scenarios are available yet. At least at the time of recording, they have not been launched. The only thing we can do is go to a different version of the scenario we just did. That includes Manubis over on PvE and Evolution's Call over on PvP. However, with our new version of the same scenario, in my case Manubis, don't correct me on the pronunciation if that's wrong, it sounds amazing in my head. Back on topic, we have the option to do it in hard mode now. And a lot of the early feedback was that it was just too easy of a game, and in a lot of ways that was true, especially because basic enemies seriously didn't hurt. It didn't even matter if you messed up, you usually wouldn't die. Did hard mode fix that? What do you get to keep when you go from one server to another? And when do the new scenarios come out that aren't Manubis or Evolution's Call? We're gonna answer all of that in this video, but first, I have to tell you how I messed up royally. Now, I doubt anyone has noticed, but none of my characters were actually in a realm that was going to mature recently, or at least none of the ones that I've shown on any of my videos. In fact, the only reason I got to go to the hard mode server early is because I accidentally made a character on a realm I never used. Sometime last week, I realized I had a character that was still stuck in its character creation on a server that was older than all of the rest, and I figured, hey, it'd be really cool to show a really funny build here. Let's do the same thing I did with the Boom Boom build. I'm not apologizing for the name, but this time with a build that's even worse, and it's going to be silly on purpose. So I took this lovely little sniper rifle and decided I was going to go full into a bounce weak point build, and I gotta tell you, I regret every moment of this because it's not very good of a build, although it may be the most fun. Sometimes you can ricochet back and forth between like 4 enemies over and over. It's great. By the time I got this character to max level and I was about to show you all the footage that I got for this, they were like, hey, you want to go do this on hard mode? And who am I to say no? Of course I want to see what hard mode's like. So anything you see in this video, please take it with a grain of salt. I do not think this is what you consider a meta build, nor is it the most effective. I end up struggling with one of the bosses quite severely, so your mileage may vary. That said, it's time to finally answer the first of many questions that I raised just about a minute ago, and that is, when do the new scenarios drop? Well, they haven't given an official date yet. They just said it's going to happen in both September and October, so if you're looking to go through Manubis or Evolution's Call on hard mode, you have plenty of time to do it before then. We're only in August, and a season's 6 weeks from what I understand, so I think we got time to crank one out. Despite my poor choice of words, the next question is, what do you get to take with you between your seasons? And the answer is some stuff. Some of it. You will lose anything that was made by a mimetic talent, such as your precious solar drill, but things you did make, like a chainsaw, or the things you found, like deviants, will be stored in Eternal Land. You can get up to 20,000 of these individual Eternal Land credits that can be used to redeem and buy your old stuff back into your current server. If you don't buy it back into the server, don't worry, it just chills in Eternal Land. You can use it there as much as you'd like, but it's important to ask, hey, where do I get these Eternal Land credits? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, me. You see, everything that you couldn't keep moving between servers got turned into these credits to a max of 20,000. But San for days, what happened to my blueprints? What happened to my modifications? Those are my build. I've worked on those for forever now. Where did they go? Good news, everyone. It turns out blueprints and enhancements are perfectly a-okay. As soon as you can build them again, you can put your enhancements right in them. You'll be like you had your whole build the whole time. This means you can essentially just work on getting more blueprints to make your build better, or perhaps work on a second one. I don't care. You do whatever you want. I'm not your dad. If I was your dad, I'd tell you to subscribe. Even though I'm not your dad, I'm still suggesting heavily that you should subscribe. Despite whatever that was, it's time for me to get into the meat and potatoes of this video, answering the question, did hard mode fix the difficulty issue? Now, this is going to be subjective, but I don't think it really did. Honestly, it could be because I have my full build and I can just assemble something that is halfway coherent and makes sense and does a bit of damage, but unfortunately from what I've seen so far, it's still kind of lacking. I think they should turn up the amount of enemies, but unfortunately that may not be easy to do at the moment. You see, right now, absolutely everybody and their brother is on this server. The only time I've had any performance issues has been on this server because everywhere I go, there's like 16 people, which is also causing issues and actually killing mobs for certain missions because there's just not enough of them. Some squad comes through, kills them, you have to wait for them to respawn, and by the time they do, another squad's here to kill the rest. That's enough of my belly aching. I'm going to hop in now to the full experience of going from absolutely nothing up to the third boss, as that's all that's available right now on the newly released hard mode servers for Once Human Manubis. When you first join the server, you're going to get an option. Do you want the Spark Note version, or do you want to play through every story event again? So since I've played through the story so many times, I said I'll take the Spark Note version. And this was actually kind of cool because I didn't have to talk to any of the main characters characters, Mary doesn't really exist at this point, and you can just go through the cities, get the rift anchors, and then go kill the bosses as you please. You'll also be given a little notice about how to redeem your previous items from your other go-around, and so you can get your deviants and jazz. Not gonna lie, I initially missed this and had to figure it out myself from reading chat, and a lot of other people in chat were getting super frustrated because they also missed this, so if you do go to a new server, make sure you read that notice. It's kind of important. The too long don't read version is just go to Eternal Land and it's going to tell you again what to do. But before I got my base set up, I decided to see exactly how strong these enemies were, and I got clapped. I kid you not, I got killed by a single stomp from a level 8 Siren Head face thing. Okay, I was a little bit wounded when it happened, but it's nice to see that they can really hurt you in this version of the game, as well as they don't die in a single baseball bat, or in this case, wrench swing. Hold on, a wrench swing sounds like a really tasty adult beverage. After getting my butt absolutely obliterated, oh, that's not what I meant to say either. I meant to say after the anomaly had ripped, after I was defeated by the big thing, I finally wised up and went to Eternal Land to go grab my stuff. At this point I realized I could purchase my previous harvesting deviants such as the rabbits and the mining guys and use that so I didn't have to really collect. I also made sure to grab my chainsaw because getting wood is such a pain, but not with the chainsaw, so I am set. I was able to make quick progress and work up to the first boss in a matter of like 13 minutes. I gotta admit, it's a little bit strange going through this in such a quick fashion because typically it takes a lot longer, at least with the story beats, to get to this boss. I was there so quickly and I was ready for a real challenge. I didn't get that challenge because the goo boy went down without much of a fight, but at this point I'm wondering, is it because I already have a full set of gear that makes me do a bunch of weak spot damage, or is it because hard mode isn't hard enough? At least from my perspective, it makes sense to make the bosses still harder than they currently are because you'd be expecting most people on hard mode to already have a kit. I do suppose there's only so much you could do by tweaking numbers on a boss fight that is as scripted as this one is, as there's not really much more to add. You know the mechanics, you hit him, you hide, you hit him, you hide, you break the sacks, you break the bulbs, you break the things where the monsters come out of, and then you repeat it until he's dead. Although this is where I first noticed how much better the loot in hard mode is, because this is some serious mod action for being the first boss in the game, and it only gets better from here. On a slightly unrelated topic, the thing that's really cool about these new servers is how it condenses other servers that may have not had a really large active population. Right now, this server is so flooded with people and everyone is so excited to be here, and I mean, besides the weird tribalism that happens between servers sometimes, it's been a really good experience. Plus, I see a lot of people saying Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker, and immediately when I see that, I know I'm at home amongst my fellow nerds. There wasn't very much that happened in between Boss 1 and Boss 2 that was worth talking about. However, I did start to notice that the mobs actually do a horrendous amount of damage. Like, I got punched in the face by a sniper at some point here, and it downed me. Not gonna lie, it was really funny. But other than that, relatively uneventful as I made my way to the Treant, which is almost as much of a pushover as it is usually, except this is another area where the damage numbers really show up. When I made my Boom Boom guide, you may have seen me face tanking a lot of hits because I knew it just didn't do enough to hurt me, but here, I almost went down just because I wasn't respecting the damage enough. I still continue to try to handle all of this at God's speed, only being around level 18, trying to get to the third boss when I was humbled for a moment as these enemies actually do a lot more damage and are significantly tankier. I almost forgot to mention, some areas are story important to the point where you receive like blueprints there. You can always go there as a main mission. All you have to do is see your silhouette and talk to it, and eventually you just get free stuff, you know, like a bunch of blueprints or experience. So it is nice to know that even if you do the SparkNote version, it's not going to affect your overall experience. I tried to stop by one of the farm areas to see if the Buzzy Bee deviant was available, and unfortunately it wasn't there. Instead, all I got was a broken elbow, and they did inform me that they do not care that they busted my elbow. On top of that, when I was going for one of the rift anchors, I decided to shoot into a mirror, which instantly ended myself. It's nice to know I'm so strong that I'm even afraid of me, as well as I almost went down when I was fighting a Siren Head who for some reason just doesn't seem to take damage. But it is important to take this with a grain of salt still, because keep in mind this is a bounce build. On single target enemies, it's actually not that great. This was emphasized even more when I made it to the third and final boss that's available in this season, the Giant Spider Lady, and I struggled with this boss for a solid 5, 6, 7, 9, maybe 11 minutes even. But once again, even though I struggled with damage output and she hurt a lot to the point where she even downed me twice, it's really just a matter of the sliders being changed. The only thing I was able to demonstrate today is the fact that they amplified both the health and damage of the bosses you'll be fighting. There are no additional mechanics, at least not yet, and those same changes apply to regular enemies and mini bosses. There is supposed to be more making the hard mode server difficult, however I just haven't been able to experience either the corrupted areas or the increased tower defense difficulty yet, and I will probably follow up on that in the next video. The world could also feel easier than it is due to the amount of people that are currently in it at the same time, because every time enemies spawn they're just instantly killed by someone else, so chances are I'm just not getting the full experience. And finally, I did not mention the 2 unique enemy types that have been added to this hard mode server. The reason I have not done that is because I haven't really found them other than the crabs that are running around, but they're not really that special. They can just only be damaged by either a special augment or by 2 special types of damage. In this case, I think it was blast and shock. And the other enemy type just heals really quickly if you damage it, so you have to do something to counter it. Although at this point in the season, they are completely, not there except for a few crabs. They're not really that impactful. If they become more impactful as the season goes on, I'll happily cover it. With all of that said, we can easily imagine a world where this game got a lot harder because things that were already hard, like the Leah compound that some people struggled with, having the damage turned up and the health turned up might actually make the game almost impossible for people who struggled with that. With all of that said, is it worth it to do it on a hard mode server? Yeah, 100%. Being on hard mode's awesome. I'm glad that things are deadlier. I'm super happy you can find better mods earlier. I'm stoked. I'm gonna keep playing this server, even though I don't really like the build I have. With that said, thank you very much. This has been Sand for Days. I'm Course, and I get everywhere. If you hate anything I said, or you want to tell me hi, just please put that in the comments. Until next time, bye-bye now. Hey you, yes you, I see you there. You're part of the 12% of people who make it to the very last second of my videos. Well, I'd like to take an extra moment to let you know that while 12% of people on average watch the entire video, only 1.9% of the viewers are subscribed. If that describes you, please hit the subscribe button. It means a ton to creators like me. Also, drink more water. It's good for you. I love cheese.